Years and years of comedy entertainment, brilliant shit, laugh my ass off repeatedly. It's amazing the guy can just extemporaneously bang out 2 hours, after everything he's been through, and be genuinely funny about some pretty weighty, heavy shit. But all of the people who are like, well, let's not talk about politics. I don't want to talk about politics. All these whining fucks, they need to be driven out of our culture. They need to be pilloried and ridiculed until every father is sitting down at the end of the day talking politics with his children at the dinner table. Of course, we all love Jim's hats. Who doesn't? Who doesn't love Jim's hats? It's a hat-funded economy, folks. Really nice to see him kind of chipper, kind of coming back from death. The Highlander, he becomes stronger when he comes back from death. I look forward to good things, good times. We all love Jim. Who doesn't love this comical little, troublemaker from Minnesota? This scamp. This Irish pixie or mischief maker. He's like a little gnome running around making mischief. Not to be confused, of course, with another gnome, a different gnome, and his Beans Burgers. We all love Beans Burgers, don't we? We all do. Oh, who doesn't love our little beanie weenie? Fucking causing trouble, funny trouble that we can all laugh at. Years and years of comedy entertainment, brilliant shit, laugh my ass off repeatedly. It's amazing the guy can just extemporaneously bang out 2 hours, after everything he's been through, and be genuinely funny about some pretty weighty, heavy shit. But, of course, also, let's make sure to throw in fucking the caveat and nod, to Subsidy Bro. And I just mean here, probably at the last... the third act of the recent episodes that we've seen, there's always this sort of clear infection. This is the result of him being on Twitter and, oh, Elon Musk is so based. He's so based. I love it. Oh, I just want a solar panel and an EV, and we got to go to Mars, and I'm going to get my brain chip right now and link it to Skynet, and cryptocurrency's based, yo. It's based. Oh, I'm going to buy so many soy protein packets with my super credits. Yikes. Just like the last 3 episodes. And then just in general, he kind of leans libertarian like that. And it's just comical to me because it's like nobody can see what's being done. And on the one hand, yes, there is great promise. But on the other hand, we're going to live in a fucking nightmare world that has all of the dynamics that the New World Order has been telling us that we're going to bring to bear for centuries. You're going to be living in a world where human life is not only cheap, it's completely worthless. The cover story about universal basic income is socialism writ large. It's socialism via another means, and it's a way of implementing socialism via another means. And if you think that's going to work out for the average American and that that's all going to be hunky-dory, you have a really poor grasp of both history and the geopolitical reality of the planet you live on. But, at the same time, there is this little golden age here. I do have superpowers. It has given me superpowers. As for the average American who's not very tech savvy, as for, trades who are going to get replaced by AGI droids, as for people even like myself who eventually, will get replaced by agentic AI, once you have AGI and you're able to I mean, I don't know. Honestly, can an AI actually sit there and orchestrate business the way I don't know. Maybe you might be able to train a computer to, but I don't know. Do people want to work with a computer? I don't know. I don't know. Could you get a fucking computer to could you get agentic AI so good that it could handle all aspects of fucking investor relations? I don't know. Maybe. Um, there's certain trades that are probably going to be relatively immune as well, but and there'll always be trades to a certain extent. But think about the advent of AGI droids. What about living in a world where AGI droids have displaced the common man? That's the real end game. This class warfare shit they're pulling by targeting like white collar first with the rollout. That's some obvious fucking head fake shit. That should be part of your analytical breakdown as well. But I don't think people even see that. But ultimately, the real problem is what happens when the AGI is here, and it's not necessarily humanoid robots. It's just custom built, cheap, mass manufactured droids that have AGI capability, that are as smart as Einstein, but they're designed for a certain purpose, and we live in a world where all labor has essentially been displaced. What is the value of human life in that equation? And people can lie to themselves and pretend it's going to be some Wall-E paradise, and they can believe the Star Trek fiction that they've had programmed into them. But that's not how it's going to be. That's not how it's going to shake down. And if you want a more realistic portrayal of the way it's going to be, go watch that propaganda film Elysium with Matt Damon. Go watch that. And that's how it's actually going to be. That's the predictive programming. It's going to be a tiny handful of elite come to a better life in the off-world colonies, and the rest of us living on whatever's left. They don't give a rat's ass, because ultimately AGW was all just a con job anyway for implementing, carbon taxes as a control schema. But I digress. And forget Larry Fink tokenizing all assets and how everything Elon Musk dovetails with Agenda 2050. Just ignore all of it. Ignore the supplanting of fucking, all currencies by cryptocurrency. Ignore the total hologramization of all assets currently taking place. Gosh, I wish I'd participated in the ramping strategy so I could cash out and live a better life. I mean, if you're comfortable with 30 pieces of silver, I don't know what to fucking tell you, dude. You know what I mean? But for me, I can't live with that. I can't do that. I can't walk that road. I literally can't. I'm physically fucking incapable. I am psychologically incapable of denying my conscience, my intellectual conscience. I ain't saying that like I'm some kind of fucking paragon, some kind of moral paragon. I'm actually saying it. I gnash my teeth all the time. Yeah, how many times I've gnashed my teeth, how much I hate myself that I can't just tell my conscience to shut the fuck up and just take the money? Do you have any idea how difficult that is for me? I could be a fucking very wealthy man if I had no fucking scruples. I could be a very wealthy man if I had no scruples. It upsets me a great deal because unlike a lot of other people who would take the wealth and fucking front and stunt like some half a dysgenic brown person like the Tates, and be some fucking like influencer, I would just want to be a real industrialist. Not some Agenda 2050 industrialist, but a genuine Henry Ford building real industries. I mean, for me, it would just be more work. You know what I mean? I swear, dude. Whatever, it's about moving the ball down the field. Does Jim help us move the ball down the field? Absolutely. Is Trump perfect? No. Is JD Pence a fucking rhino plant? Was Butler PA a coup by the technocratic arm of the technocratic socialist arm of the New World Order, which is a kleptocratic plutocracy? Yeah, sure. Sure, it's all we've been co-opted and hijacked. They couldn't stop us. They had to co-opt us, of course. But you know what? Technocratic socialism, I know it's all the Hegelian dialectic. I know that we've been taught to dance by punches and blows. I'm not naive and retarded when I say this. But yes, technocratic socialism is better than breadline socialism. I'd rather have Jensen Huang dancing around in a lizard jacket, in a fucking alligator jacket, than Willie Brown's cockholster screaming at us about, like Obama 2.0 with a vagina, screaming at us about how breadlines make us free. So, I understand we've all been mind fucked by this Hegelian dialectic. I understand the noospheric manipulation engine for what it is. I just wish everyone else did. I wish people understood that, subsidy bro has extracted $500 billion from the U.S. taxpayer under the auspices of the AGW con and helped destroy the U.S. auto industry in the process. I wish you all understood this. I wish you understood what a fucking con the whole AGW con is. You know, instead, now we're even saying, well, maybe solar panels and batteries are not such a bad idea. Oh, speaking of silver, might have something to do with it. I don't know. Might be a speculative play. Might be some shenanigans going on in the physical silver market. A super cycle blowout crisis that was engineered, which I didn't really go into. I mean, you look at it, 20, 30, 40 fucking years of the very AGW policy that Subsidy Bro has benefited off of and preached until he decided to switch sides. You know, when it was opportune to do so, when he realized Gigafactory Mexico and putting the entire U.S. auto industry out of business was not going to work because Trump was going to win. And, oh, Butler, PA, oh, the bullet didn't hit him in the head. Oh, uh-oh, time to fucking pretend, at least up until the EV mandate gets pulled. And then, oh, shit, we'll go total fucking splinter faction. And somehow it all washes. Why does it all wash? Because the New World Order is very real. And this was a coup by the... Anyway, you fucking idiots. Don't you understand what I'm talking about? Why do I even bother explaining it to you? Delicious. Delicious espresso. My only friend. Delicious espresso. I do love you. Delicious. Anyway. Fucking Jimmy's fucking lukewarm takes on the cashless slave grid wrapping strategy. Naturally, that pisses me off. You know... It's always a shame when you see somebody go all the way up to the line and they get to the line and then they fuck it up. Do you know what I mean? But whatever. Hey, it's an imperfect world. It's all a process. We're all in a... It's a gradient. It's all about moving the ball down the field. Just keep fucking moving. Just momentum. Don't even fucking... So what if we're winning the battles and losing the war? Just keep plowing, you know? While they're creating their ASI technocracy, I'm embedding my code in the kernel of the forthcoming hypercomputing network, right? That's what I'm doing. I'm out there every fucking day embedding my code directly into the kernel. I'm talking to the machines themselves. I'm bypassing humanity. You're all obsolete. This video is not even for you. This is just for me. I wanted to have a little fun, make a little video for myself, for posterity. Something to listen to, because, you know, Jimmy kind of got me in the mood. Oh my God, you can have shit to listen to. You can actually enjoy yourself and listen to something. Wow, that's fun. So I thought I'd make a little video for myself. A little something for Josh. Here you go, Josh. This is for you, buddy. I gotta fucking make my own content to have something to watch. So, anyway. Can't talk about the silver market. Like, forget the commodity super cycle. Let's not talk about the LBMA default or any of that shit. Let me just take a moment and here's Jim's take on the cashless slave grid ramping strategy. Again, for the record, and if you could see my original Twitter account, this would be... I'd just show you the tweet. Here's the link to the tweet. I went negative on crypto at $11 because I was like, I mean, of course I was down to clown from day one for, you know, non-state fiat. I'm a sound money guy. You know, I know what a fucking tally stick is. I'm like, yeah, sure, the interesting concept. You know, I didn't realize it at the time, didn't really understand the implementation of blockchain technology. Just to be clear here, when I say didn't understand the implementation of blockchain, obviously as somebody who was talking about, you know, utilizing Beowulf architectures right after the rigged election in 2000 to implement a virtual kernel-based distributed system capable of, you know, ensuring that an election is not rigged because there's a copy of the database on every machine. You have this giant distributed machine, virtual machine. Everyone's got a copy of the database. Pretty simple idea. So I'm not saying I didn't. What I mean to say is, at the time, it did not occur to me entirely the ramifications that I need you to understand of what this actuarying system will do, and this is their key play for implementing that actuarying system is cryptocurrency, and the actuarying system is tied to the currency. So it's all in one shot. It's a one-shot implementation of a system that you will never be able to, a permanent transaction matrix that you will. I know that it doesn't seem like a big deal. A permanent receipt of everything, but I'm talking about everything. And this is another thing about Elon Musk, Subsidy Bro. I hate to dead name him. This is another thing about Subsidy Bro. The Teslas, the cars, they're not even cars. I mean, yes, it's about controlling your ability to move, to get around. Ultimately, it's about ultimately controlling your ability to move around, and about creating a platform that allows them to actuary down your ability to travel and the cost of travel, etc., via this permanent grid system, this 100% electronic permanent grid, and yes, be able to shut your car off with the press of a button, etc., and deny you the ability to move and travel. But really, and he said as much himself on numerous occasions, it's about creating the Internet of Things. It's about creating these mobile sensor platforms that are essential to the overall IoT and AI, AGI implementation. And the thing is, you really can't explain that to most people. They don't understand the technical realities. They don't understand how and why it's useful or why it'll be used, etc. But like, this is another clear sign that this individual is not concerned about the environment or you, or that you have a nice car. It's all merely a front to implement the system of the mobile sensor hub that you drive around in. Hard to explain. Anyway, should be a big red flag, but whatever, right? Fucking just ignore it. He said he took. Here's what Subsidy Bro is pretty good at, and he's always done this. He's the ultimate new fag. He's great at co-opting other shit. He is the ultimate hello fellow teens motherfucker out there. He is a chameleon. And all he has to do is to reposition himself and to rebrand himself is to take like some is to regurgitate our talking. It's the same fucking methodology that everybody utilizes. This is how Spiculus Fuentes, a 100-pound homosexual Mexican child, was able to accelerate his career as a manufactured influencer of the enemy system to being the leader of the white race, is by being a new fag, the ultimate new fag who co-opts other people. All you got to do. And I blame conservatives more than anything for this. We're naive. We want to believe in people. We want to trust people. So we're very, very vulnerable to Slick Willy packaging. So all it takes is for somebody to regurgitate our own talking points to us in a relatively coherent and cohesive and consistent fashion. And we're like, well, they must be one of us. But that's like the ultimate naivete of operational security, is to just let the enemy put on a disguise and walk right in the front door. But whatever. Go ahead, let him do it. Go ahead. Even though he just get done fucking you over, go ahead. Just trust him again. Because it's not like I was right about Butler, PA, and that the nature of the big tent strategy is that we are actually doing deals with the enemy, and that's the reality of the situation because we're not stronger and the audience is not more savvy. The same audience, by the way, that allows a fucking bloviating fucking imbecile like Sargoy of Cucklebees to reassert himself as some kind of fucking political pundit after having literally been used, not even to kill UKIP, but to come in at the end and help usher the corpse of UKIP off the stage. This fucking imbecile. Of course, I think Jim thinks highly of fucking Count Dankula. This is the problem. We live in a world where people see something happen. Some matter of import occurs. And rather than turning to someone of genuine expertise or actual knowledge, they turn to a manufactured influencer. They say to themselves, what does Turkey Tom have to say about all of this? They say to themselves, what does, Oreos make my tits fat 420 have to say about all of this? There's another example recently. Just, there's nothing you can do, man. The Fourth Estate's totally hijacked. They're able to forget creating pop stars, and the next generation will be just completely fucking AI generated micro celebrity influencers. And if you really want a microcosm, by the way, of how all this works, just look at the gaming industry. The way they hype train the shit out of games using celebrity manufactured mini celebrity influencers. And not just that, because it's not just like tricking people into buying AAA dog shit. I know lots of people who get tricked into buying the AAA dog shit, and then their cognitive dissonance and their sunken fallacy goes so far as to keep them playing the dog shit, even when there's like plenty of other good games around to play. So what are you gonna do, right? I'm the guy who in 2001 said, "Hey, we should Beowulf a bunch of fucking Java virtual kernel, system. We should take a bunch of Beowulfs of like PlayStation 2s running Java virtual kernels, like mini supercomputer clusters and people's home computers and have this distributed, virtual application running, so everyone's got a copy of the ledger, the same ledger. And so we have because this was after Diebold helped rig the 2000 election. And I was like, we need a real solution because you got to be able to vote remotely with like a pin or something, It needs to be damn near unhackable and uncrackable, and it's got to be robust and have immediate complaint resolution. We can't have, this is America, we can't have rigged elections. And so I, had proposed the creation of this distributed blockchain architecture. And the intention was to create a system, that's backstopped with like, okay, so there's a website, you get a pin, there's voter ID, you can only vote if you have voter ID, you put your pin in, you use a secured site, everyone's running, a virtual machine that checksums everything. You can't really hack the system because everybody's got a copy of the ledger at the same time, blah, 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 blah. Now, of course, this is used to create, the ultimate actuarying system as we're all being inserted into a cashless slave grid. Larry Fink's out there talking about tokenizing all assets, and our beloved Jimothy, St. Augustine of the Frozen Lakes, his take on it, his pedestrian mundane take is essentially, I gave those guys shit back in the day, but boy, I wish I'd cashed in along with everybody else. I wish I'd gotten my 30 super shekels where they're in the con. It's a very pedestrian, very, I have a mortgage take. Very responsible. It's like rather than somebody criticizing the way I do the 401k schema and saying this is how they rig fucking markets, people are just like, I just need to maximize my tax deductible, or I just need to maximize tax deductibility in my portfolio. I'll do some tax loss selling over here as well, and whatever I get, and then you get far enough down the, you spin the dreidel long enough, and you start getting some really nice models built up. But when I say living in a world where human life is not just cheap but worthless, what I mean is, blockchain and cryptocurrency and the tokenization of all assets will create this massive permanent actuarying system where the total commoditization of human life will be scientific. And I know people don't understand the implications of such a system. But I have tried to warn people about the implications of such a system. And it's like people don't see it coming. And there's really not much I can do to explain it. I've tried to, but once the system exists, you'll know. It's like one of those things, once it exists, you'll know. And you'll know that there's no way back, and there's no way to escape from Skynet, and there's no way to take your transactions out of the system. There's no delete function, and you simply are going to be actuaried into non-existence by a machine. I can't explain it to people. There's no way to show them. They have to see it for themselves. I've tried to explain, but it's like if you don't already sort of intrinsically, if you lack the ability to sort of figure it out for yourself, if you have to ask, you'll never know. And that is the tragic of the situation, to paraphrase Bezmenov, that you will not understand until the boot is actually crushing your face. So, but anyway, I wouldn't dissuade anyone from capitalism ever. I think capitalism is the essence of everything. You have to amass capital. You have to create your own little kingdom. The only thing that fucking matters at the end of the day is that you're able to create your own little kingdom, even if it's just a household or a farm and you and your wife and kids. You have to be able to create this little kingdom. And to me, politics, representing people, it's all about protecting that. It's about protecting the individual's ability to create their own little kingdom. Um, I digress. It's just, it just shows, we all love Jim, but it just shows what a fucking retard he is at the same time. He's got a lot of amazing takes, very nuanced, intricate takes, and very sledgehammer, blunt force takes that are very good. And then, he goes and fucking pals around with, Trunsky and fucking Turkey Tom and shit. This, he surrounds himself with these fucking internet. He swims in a soup of internet weirdos. God help him. But that's one of the things that is a constant fucking source of content. I mean, when you literally surround yourself with turkeys, you can never fly with the eagles, but you can make a lot of jokes. There's a lot of jokes. There's a lot of content there. Anyway, nice to see him up and around. But again, gotta come at the end and basically show that he's brainwashed by the Elon Musk's the subsidy bro mind virus. His take on the ramping of the cashless slave grid is, gosh, I wish I had taken profit. I wish I'd been in the loop and taken profit. I, on the other hand, am the guy who went negative on Bitcoin at $11. I could have made a fucking fortune for myself, but it would be blood money. I just want to be absolutely clear here and kind of revisit what I said about going negative. There was a ramp from like 11 to $100 overnight, very early in the days of Bitcoin. And I was like, okay, that's it. That was the point where, up until that point, there were reports, there were different arguments that were being made in the sound money and in the finance alt-fin community. And I'd listen to these arguments and whatnot, but I'd always ruled on the side of, well, if we can keep this thing non-state fiat, if we can keep it out of the hands of the cartel in some way, then we can create a true competing form of fiat currency that will compete directly with the cartel. But that ramp was, to me, the ultimate red flag that this is the initial cartel injection, and there's absolutely, of course. I was naively optimistic, maybe. But when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, even if we wanted to, there's no way to stop them from just co-opting this and hijacking that. And there's a bit of a parable there about what about Butler, PA, and Trump 2.0. Of course, there's no one alive who's savvy enough to fucking understand how brilliant that analogy is. So glad I fucking brought it up on my YouTube show that will go out to 3 people and end up on Rumble because it'll get flagged into non-existence on YouTube. Good times. Good times, folks. Money. I wouldn't be able to fucking live with myself. Do you have any idea how different we are? How I can't live with, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I literally couldn't. You know what I mean? There's many, many opportunities that have come along in the stock market where I can't participate in that. Hell, I got out of NVIDIA. I called the ramp and got out. I can't even remember, like 70 something. I can't even remember what it was. Because I'm just like, I can't do this. I can't do it. Because if I make a shitload of money off of this, and here's the thing, right? Okay, here's the thing. Full disclosure, I fucking enjoyed the ramp all the way up and took profit. But I took profit and got the fuck out. I was like, you know what? Before this thing... So that's just... What I'm trying to say is, if you're an actual trader and an investor, why the fuck would you get out when you know there's still plenty of upside? When you know the hype train is just getting started? Why would you get the fuck out? Unless, of course, you had a conscience and you were like... And I feel guilty to this day for just taking the money that I did take off the table. But it's like, I mean, I'm less, right? So I'm deluding myself. I'm less guilty because I only took 17% profit instead of 90% profit, right? Theoretically. So I think I'm a moral paragon because I only took 17% profit and got out. I still made some money though. I still cashed that check, didn't I? Anyway, full disclosure, just safe harbor, then I feel like an asshole. And why would I do that? There's other places to make money. Why would I do that to myself? It's like people in the local Facebook forum trying to like take the piss out of me and saying, "Oh, this guy censors people," and da, da, da. It's like, no, I don't. Why the fuck would I censor you? Why would I censor anybody? Why would I take the hit to my immortal soul? This is a test. This is all just a test. I made it damn near 50 years on the planet without ever compromising my fucking integrity. Why the hell would I compromise my integrity so that I could silence a fucking dipshit with their like leftist, you know, nonsense take on some issue, their ridiculously lukewarm take? Why would I? In fact, I want people to put it out there so that we can have a conversation about it. In that case, particularly, just so that we can laugh at it. You know what I mean? Because it's so retarded. And it's fun to just like, and I think that helps create culture. People develop culture. One of the ways that you develop a healthy culture is that people kind of find camaraderie in laughing at the absurd. And it's one of the only effective ways of pushing back against absurdity and mental illness, genuine mental illness, is that there is this kind of actual consensus, but it's like it's like a chemical process that has to occur in the body politic. You have to talk to each other. There has to be a forum where people who see things differently can interact, often in a very visceral way, without it coming to blows. And that's the key thing. And that's the thing that pisses me off. Leftists always want to start fighting. They always want to throw the first punch. They always want to, they're violent. Their hatred and violence just oozes out of them. Anyway, the real point was just to sort of poke fun at Jim about his pedestrian take. He's like, we just want to go to Mars and shit like that. And it's like, at the same time, I get that. You're talking to a guy who modeled his life after Kerensky. I want to take a big chunk of the human species and go off to the Kuiper Belt and start the clans. You know what I mean? You're talking to a guy who wants to just be in a war mech 24/7. I want to have my brain hooked up to the fucking zero system. I don't even want to participate in this fucking click farm stroke job fucking nonsense fake culture that exists. I couldn't care less about any of it. I just want to play my video games and work on engineering problems and trade stocks and think about history and shit. I could not care less about this fucking world of fake ass fucking micro celebrities and manufactured influencers. And Jesus Christ, can you imagine streaming for a living and having to make money off of kowtowing to your audience and having to curtail what you're saying to whatever the whims of the fucking crowd dictate at any given hour? Fuck that. I want to be able to tell the truth. Jim's a guy who when I think of people kowtowing to their audience and shit, Jim's the guy who doesn't really do that. Like, he doesn't care. He just sort of is himself, irrespective of whether or not he is. I actually trust him to some extent and feel like he has a heart of gold, because I feel like he's one of the people who, even if he were incredibly wealthy, he'd still be exactly the fucking same. It doesn't really affect him. You know what I mean? He's kind of like, he seems to be content within himself to the extent that he's not really interested in currying favor. He will just fucking tell it like it is. Doesn't matter who it is, or he'll just fucking tell it like it is, which is so goddamn important. I'm not trying to diss on him. I just, we live in an age where I could name so many different examples of people where they just kowtow to their fucking audience. Some of them are portly gentlemen from Mexico, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Fuck that. I don't want my bottom line tied to what I say publicly. Jesus. Sounds like a nightmare. That's why I never went into politics. Right? That sounds like a goddamn nightmare. Can you fucking imagine? I mean, if you're an honest man and you go out there into the public and you try to deal with it, they'll fucking kill you. I mean, yeah, you got to make them laugh or they'll kill you, but it goes way beyond that. I mean, I think that's one of the things that really makes Trump so successful is, before anything else, he's a comedian. The motherfucker knows how to work a room. As I always say, he's the funniest man in politics, or the most successful comedian in the history of politics, or whatever it is, because he really does know how to work a room. And that's something that you learn in public speaking, is how to work a room, and you have a good, strong opener. The difference is not everyone's actually funny. It's one of the reasons people are sitting there. I always see this. They're like, oh, Jim. They're like trying to have some little slap fight, some kind of, oh, my guy's better than your guy or whatever. It's like, how about just liking people and enjoying the show and shit like that, rather than trying to make it some kind of civil war. Oh, Josh, but you do that. You're attacking Ethan. I attack Ethan Ralph. Part of me loves Ethan Ralph. I can't help it. I love Ethan Ralph. Um, but also he's a complete degenerate maniac who voted for Obama twice, and I'm compelled morally and for the sake of comedy to take the piss out of him whenever the opportunity occurs or presents itself. Um, but it's not adversarial. You know what I mean? It's not adversarial. We live in a. I mean, besides everything's fair game, right? So, um, anyway, it's good to see Jim up and around. I'm going to go the rest of it. Oh, the pedestrian take. Gosh, I wish I'd have participated. Meanwhile, silver is at 100. We do have a commodity super cycle. 20 some odd years of fucking leftist bullshit, AGW propaganda, climate change, Agenda 2050, everything subsidy bro Elon Musk subsidy bro used to promote and still promotes it just subtly on the back end. Tried to fucking take Trump down over the EV mandate, tried to take down OBBB, tried to fucking splinter faction our movement, did succeed to a certain extent. I guess that's what I'm trying to say here is Jim is now part of that faction. This is a splinter faction. I understand these are the wages of a big tent. I called for a big tent. This is my strategy. I can't complain. I have no right to complain. This is what I called for. And we've succeeded beyond my wildest expectations. The only problem is I don't like everybody in the tent. And I think about it, I think about back in the day, if you read, back in the day, my argument was, hey, read the AK filings. This is basically a CCP front company OEMing, it's exactly what Trump complained about. You say made in the USA, but really what you're doing is you're shipping parts into Canada, putting them on trucks, bringing them down to facilities in the United States, continental United States, and fucking assembling them and then saying it's made in America. It's a front. It's a CCP front in the United States. And we've seen now that the whole operation was basically supplanted by BYD. Anyway, not going to go into it. Arguments completely lost on an audience that has no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. Let's not talk about the real estate market. I was right. The real estate market in China. Not that it's like, not that it was like some kind of fucking amazing call on my part, or that I'm the only one who made this call. I don't like everybody in the tent. Obviously, because a lot of them are new shits. You understand? Who are ultimately everything that they do, everything that they're about, like Subsidy Bro, is Agenda 2050 aligned. I called it, though. I called Butler, PA, a coup by the technocratic socialist arm of the New World Order. And I never really went into it because nobody could even understand that sentence, so why the fuck would I elaborate? What do you want me to deconstruct the extents thereof? To whom? And to whom would I say this? And upon which platform should I upload it? I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The key thing to remember about Butler, PA being a coup by the technocratic socialist arm of the New World Order is that they were going to do it all anyway. If you thought you could stop Larry Fink and the tokenization of all assets, if you thought that you could stop the PayPal mafia from ramping us into a cashless slave grid, you're an idiot. If you believed that somehow Trump was going to be able to stop that, you're a moron. And the fact that we're complicit with it is just a symbol that you need to be in the conservative movement, you need to be part of the movement, and you need to be pushing back against it from within. We need to be going back to sound money. We need to have sound money as a basis for currency. And we need to defeat the promulgation of digital forms of currency, which are stateless and borderless, and serve only as a means for the global banking cartel to totally leverage the financialization hologram that they have constructed. The derivatives Death Star, if you will, to use an earlier motif. Fuck, man, I tell you. It's nice seeing Jim up and around now, huh? It was nice. It's good to hear. It's good to hear, man. I love Minnesota. I want Minnesota to be the greatest comeback story that America has ever seen. I want this fucking tragically fucked up state full of half a leftist faggots. I want all these leftist idiots to wake up and realize they're on the wrong side of history, and for them to join us and to move forward. But I don't know how to do that. And all I do know how to do is antagonize them further with vicious shit posting. So I'm just as guilty as anybody, I suppose. But I believe that, again, is part of this alchemical process of creating culture. Because it has to be talked about publicly. People need to know that their neighbors are retarded. You need to know that who in your local community is basically a fucking imbecile running around voting, wrecking everything with their stupid fucking half-boiled, half-baked fucking takes on matters of import. And also, we need to have a culture that ridicules and criticizes people who try to chill free speech. All of the people who are like, well, let's not talk about politics. I don't want to talk about politics. All these whining fucks, they need to be driven out of our culture. They need to be pilloried and ridiculed until every father is sitting down at the end of the day talking politics with his children at the dinner table. I want every family sitting down at the dinner table and talking politics. We can have it all, but to have it all requires a fourth estate and the people. Look, you can go and study Jefferson for yourself and figure all this out, or you could just listen to me. The sole repository of universal truth is the body politic. We live or die. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and we live or die by whether or not the common man has a true morality within him and a true Christianity within him, and a firm grasp on fucking actual history, not the fake history, but as I always say, history 2.0, the real macro, and then of course, when you get into that field, when you're a true scientist and you get into the field and you understand that the truth is that all you can ever really have is all the data that you could have collected, but that ultimately it's still just subjective, piecemeal. Like you never have all the data. And the more data you get your hands on, the closer you get to having like 99% of all available data, the more you realize that 99% of all available data only represents something like 15% or perhaps only 3% of the actual data. So it's all, we see now, but through a glass darkly, as it were. But no, it's nice to see Jim, even our little dipshit Jim. He's trying, Jimmy. Go get him, Jimmy. Oh man, funniest goddamn guy. I swear to God, the Irish are like, they're like from another dimension. They're like faith folk, There's like they have mirth in their spirit. I don't know what's going on. He's funny. He's just extemporaneously funny. And I feel like he should have put Minnesota on the map. He should have been as huge as fucking... Instead of Howard Stern, you should have had Jim in the morning. You know what I mean? And instead of Opie and Anthony, or a couple of fucking retards, Everybody loves Opie, but he's a fucking retard in my opinion. Or Anthony. I can't remember which one is which. I love telling the story about how I can't honestly... Anthony, because Anthony Cumia is the swarthy fucking brown one. Okay. The other one's just a dipshit white dude who's like a caricature of whiteness. Anyway, we'll talk about the Octoroon looking, the swarthy one of the two. I always tell the story, or I like to tell the story whenever I get the opportunity, that basically rejected his application to, I think it was Cats and Hats at the time, back in the day. He was on his shaman. We took him through City of Mist, I think it was, me and Tadul. And I was like, nah, I don't think we want... here was my rationale at the time. Here's this guy who's a radio host, and he likes the game, and he's pretty good. But having him in the guild will be a distraction. It will be a constant, giant distraction. And so I was like against influencer culture before it even existed. I wouldn't even bring this guy into the fold. I don't want this guy as like our third string shaman on raids and shit. Why the fuck would I want that? Constantly there's enough distractions. I got enough fucking problems. Logistics, personnel, etc. Motivation. I don't need this fucking dipshit. Best decision of my life. called it long before I didn't even know who the fuck he was. I just, like, you know, I had to look it up. I'm like, who the fuck is Opie and Anthony? I don't know who that is. Oh, so based. I love it. I tell you. I didn't even know who the fuck that was. I had to look it up to duel. I had to look up who that was. And I'm like, I don't think so. Nope. Tell your story walking, pal. Besides which, he didn't impress me. We went and we ran, you know, COM, just like 3-man, some shit like that, upper COM, whatever it was. And I'm just like, was not impressed. Probably should have had us all on voice over IP. Of course, this was back in the day. You gotta type. You have to learn to fucking type quickly. And read quickly, motherfucker.